What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is your main man, Booster Rails, and I got a good one for you today. We're gonna talk about 5 things that you need to ask yourself before you decide to buy a Hayabusa. And we're gonna jump right into it, not gonna hold you too long. The first thing you wanna ask yourself, in my opinion, is, are you experienced enough? I know there's a lot of people out there that say, yes, I've got the Hayabusa as my first bike and I had no problems. Well, you can't take your anecdotal situation and put a blanket statement on the masses saying just because you were fine with it, that everybody else will. Everyone has a different personality, and we all think and process things differently. So just because you were fine with it doesn't mean everybody else will. My information is to help people make the most logical decision. So, are you experienced enough? Have you ridden enough? Do you feel comfortable out there on the highways, not just riding around in the city streets? Do you feel comfortable around traffic to be able to maneuver this bike? This bike is a little bit heavier, which is going to go into another question that you need to ask yourself. But are you experienced enough to handle a bike with 1,340 cc's? This is not, your average run-of-the-mill motorcycle when it comes to getting out there. So you want to be able to get on something and feel comfortable. You don't want to feel intimidated by the bike. Some people are. No, not everybody. Okay, so are you experienced enough to handle this bike? One of the fastest bikes that they make out there in production. So don't just think, oh, such and such said that they can, handle it as a first bike, and so can I. I've seen a lot of bad stories, and I've heard some good stories as well. So just really ask yourself that question: am I experienced enough to handle a Hayabusa? Okay. Next up, is this bike too heavy for you? Okay, we're not all built the same. We can't all lift the same amount of weight. Now, one thing about the bike is once the bike gets going, it wants to stay upright by itself under power under the rear wheel and when you're going down the road. But a lot of people drop this type of bike when they're doing slow speed maneuvers and when they're either, taking a bike, off the stands, because, you have to be able to manage that weight when you take a bike off the stand, or when you're maybe turning it around in your garage. A lot of people drop heavier bikes like that, like the Busa, the ZX14, heavier cruisers and all that type of stuff. So can you maneuver this bike under your power with the bike being off? Can you push it around? And that goes into how is your footing on that bike, because a heavier bike, you don't want to be on your tiptoes with. Although my bike is lowered, even if it wasn't, I'm, 6'1", so it wouldn't be a factor because I have a large enough inseam to be able to flat foot on pretty much any sport bike. So, make sure that this bike isn't too heavy for you. This one is about 582 pounds. I think this 14 is maybe about 12 or 14 pounds heavier. So understand, when you're getting these bigger bikes, if you weigh 120 pounds, this might not be the bike for you. Now, I'm not saying that people that weigh 120 pounds can't ride this bike, because I've seen it. But is it practical? In my opinion, no, it's not. So before you decide to buy that Hayabusa and you're not sure if it's too heavy for you, all you got to do is go to your local dealership that sells them and, ask the salesman, can you sit on there? Typically, they help you get on the bike and make sure that you can, handle the bike, and then just see how it feels going from rocking side to side in your legs. See, can you roll it forward and it doesn't feel extremely heavy. You want a bike that's going to feel like it's going to move when you want it to move, and you're not going to have to fight against the bike. Okay. Next question you got to ask yourself: do you need that much power? Granted, I thoroughly believe that there's no one out here on the city roads, highways, that's using the maximum power of these sport bikes consistently. Okay, to max out these sport bike abilities, you have to be on the track, my personal opinion. Yes, people can go out here and run 180 miles an hour on the highway, but you still haven't maxed out that bike's capabilities, because you're not taking these corners, maxing out these bikes' capabilities. So do you need that much power in a bike. And I'm gonna get to and tell you why I bought the bike. So, because I don't think any of us need this type of power unless you're actually, for a Busa, I would say on a drag strip. You're gonna max out that power and add more. But everyday riding, the regular rider, no, you don't need 1,340 cc's and all of its capabilities on an everyday ride. So ask yourself, do I really need all that power? You know, me, every day I don't ride the Busa. I'll hop on the 750 over there. You know, and the 750 still doesn't get maxed out on everyday riding. So, you know, ask yourself, do I need that extra power to justify me paying that extra money, you know what I mean, for the Hayabusa? So that's another question that you gotta ask yourself. Do you need all of the power this Busa has? Next up, can you check your ego? You know, these bikes, excuse the car going by, these bikes are very dangerous in the wrong hands, as I like to say. In the wrong hands are people who can't check their ego and respect these bikes. That goes for any bike, but that especially goes for bikes like the Busa, the ZX14, the H2, the top tier bikes when it comes to engine performance and speed and torque and horsepower and all of that. Can you check your ego to say, I don't have to prove anything to anybody? Okay, I don't have to make it seem like I'm, you know, the fastest guy out here all the time. I don't have to race from the light to prove something to someone, because that's when accidents occur. That's when problems happen, because you're trying to prove something to someone that's really not worth proving anything to. And I'm not saying, you know, people aren't worth anything, but I'm just saying, like, it's not worth you putting your life in danger or, you know, jacking up your bike because you can't check your ego. You can't have someone else go faster than you while you're riding together. You have to consistently show off. So can you check your ego before buying this bike? This bike is one, along with a couple of others that I mentioned before, that needs and must be respected when you get out there on it. It's not gonna be a good day if you don't respect those bikes and check your ego at the door, okay? So next up, do you want it for looks or do you want it for performance? You have to ask yourself that question. Because if you're looking for maximum performance, curves, cornering, and so forth and so on, this isn't the bike for you, okay? Yes, it can go through the curves fine and dandy. I've done it, seen other people do it, seen people knee drag on them and everything. But if my sole purpose was performance, then I would probably, you know, have a 1000 sitting here. Or when I want to get out there in the twisties or the back roads, I'll hop on the 750 over there. But, you know, knowing the difference between what you want and what you need, you know, it's two different things, but you have to ask yourself those questions. Do I like the way it looks? Because it actually looks like a Peregrine Falcon, which translates in English to, translates to Hayabusa. In Japanese, is that why I like it? Do I just like the body lines of it? You know, that's what came into play for me to make my ultimate decision. But you have to ask yourself, is it for looks or is it performance? Or is it an ego thing? You gotta think about that, because some people want to say, I got the biggest bike, well, the largest CC bike, just to say they have it. Some people just want to say they have a Hayabusa, but some people like myself and others genuinely like the way the bike looks. They like the way the bike rides, the way the bike feels. It has a more upright position than the 750 because it's considered a sport touring bike. One thing that a lot of people don't know, insurance is cheaper on the Busa than it is on that 750. Okay, because it's considered a sport touring and that's considered a super sport bike. So you know, there are things like that that came into play for me. You know, like I love the way it looks. I love the body lines on it. I love the headlights on it. I love the mirrors on it. The tail section on it. Like I love the way the bike looks personally, and the color for me topped it off. So if you can, you know, say that you genuinely love the way the bike looks, then you get into, yeah, and I love the way the bike rides, the way it feels, it's more comfortable, then that was my legit reason for going with the Hayabusa, because I'm not carving canyons, I'm not at the track every weekend. If I was that type of rider, I'll take the 750 to the track and to get back out here in the back roads of North Carolina somewhere and, you know, hit the corners and stuff like that. So once you answer all those questions, okay, you're gonna find your why. Why do I want that bike? Or why do I not want this bike? You're gonna find out either way, and because you wanna get what you need as a rider as opposed to, oh, I just want this to say I have this. So make sure you get what you need to satisfy your riding style, and not just get something because everybody else is getting it, or because they say if you don't get this bike, you ain't got a good bike, or if you don't get this bike, your bike is slow. It's none of that, y'all. It's get what works for you and your riding style, the type of riding you're gonna be doing, and block out all of the other noise. So make sure not only before you buy the Hayabusa, but before you buy any bike, ask yourself those 5 questions. And I think it's gonna help you make a sound judgment on the type of motorcycle that you're gonna want and you're gonna need. So I appreciate you guys for sitting here with me today and listen to me talk about the 5 questions to ask yourself, more specifically when you're buying a Hayabusa, but when you're buying any bike in general. So I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves out there. And if you're riding, ride safe, hit that subscribe button, keep the rubber side down, shiny side up. Peace.